pale dawn filtered through the high windows of the Tower of the Hand, limning the dust motes in ghostly silver and softening the jagged edges of Jon Arryn's old solar. Lord Eddard Stark lingered at the carved table of weirwood and riverhoak, studying the brittle parchment rolls scattered before him. He had slept but little, yet sleep had left him no clearer-headed than waking. The sickly weight of King's Landing pressed in on him from every direction. Humidity, rancid alley smells, whispered names, half-remembered sigils, all of it grinding against the raw wound of homesickness that seemed to grow larger each time he read another trace of the late hand's final curiosity. So many bastards, so many flaxen heads. They peopled his dreams even now, bastards with golden hair and soft purple eyes, children who looked nothing like the king whose blood they supposedly bore. Maester Pycelle had sworn Jon Arryn died of a sudden chill deep in his chest, the soundest of maesters invoking the frailty of lungs weakened by years. Yet when Ned set the scroll aside and rubbed the bridge of his nose, he thought only of Arryn's strong, sure voice on the day they triumphed at Gulltown, the way the grizzled lord had sworn he would see Robert's children grow to manhood before the stranger came for him. Men as stubborn as Jon Arryn did not simply die of colds. Men as prudent as Jon Arryn did not die of colds in King's Landing. A faint rap at the door drew him from grim thoughts. Jory Castle entered without being bid, boots soft on the tiled floor, helm beneath one arm. "My lord," he murmured, the broad planes of his face tight with caution. "Lord Baelish asks that you break fast with him in the courtyard. He says he has news of—" Jory glanced toward the parchments, brows knitting. "Of a private nature." Littlefinger again, Ned thought with weary distaste. The man smelled of plotting the way a butcher smelled of blood. Yet he knew Robert relied on Petyr Baelish's nimble mastery of coin, and Robert relied on Ned. He rose, setting aside the last scroll. The wax seal bore Jon Arryn's falcon, cracked clean down the middle. "Tell him I will come," he said. The courtyard gardens were still dewy from the mists that drifted up each dawn from Blackwater Bay. Petyr Baelish lounged beside a shallow pond mottled with lily pads and the lazy drift of koi. He wore sea-green silk slashed with ivory brocade, a mockingbird pin winking on his doublet, and his smile was a dagger cloaked in velvet. "My lord hand," Baelish purred, rising. "I trust your morning has been illuminating." Ned inclined his head and motioned to a stone bench set beneath the drooping boughs of an almond tree. "If you have something useful to say, Lord Baelish, I would hear it." "Useful," Petyr echoed, folding long fingers together. "A dangerous word in this city. I find knowledge is only as useful as the purse it fills or the throat it cuts." He traced a meaningless pattern on his knee. Jon Arryn thought otherwise. It killed him. Cold prickled Ned's nape. "I will not bandy riddles. Speak plainly." "Oh, plainly?" Littlefinger sighed as though the effort pained him. "Very well. It pains me to see decent men near ruin by courtly fog. Let me part it for you. You hunt bastards, Robert's bastards, because the late hand believed he spied a fault in the royal succession. Golden hair where none should be." He studied Ned's face, pleased when Stark's jaw tightened. "I compliment your thoroughness, yet you mistake the scale of the game." Ned kept his voice level. "Is this your useful knowledge? Patience?" Littlefinger plucked an almond blossom, twirling it between thumb and forefinger. "Imagine, Lord Stark, if such golden proof, poisonous undeniable, were placed directly into King Robert's hands before his sweet queen could dull its edge. Would he raise a treason cry? Drag the boy out before the court? Call him bastard? Call Jaime Lannister cowardly seducer? Call Tywin traitor? Indeed he would. And war would follow, crimson and swift. Man, no. I do not scheme for war." "Nor do I," Petyr said, and for once there was an echo of sincerity in the laugher lines about his eyes. "I scheme for survival. Should Tywin muster the west, and Stannis the narrow sea, the city will drown in fire. Yet if the truth comes regardless, and it will, dear lord, whether carried by your honorable hands or mine, best to let it slip free under guiding fingers. Fingers that can twist events so we fall upon the winning side." Ned rose, purposefully slow. If you speak of seizing a child, of throwing the realm into chaos to sate your greed. Littlefinger rose to match him. Chaos is a ladder, they say. But I find ladders tiresome. I prefer doors opened at the right moment. Robert will know, because secrets rot in the dark and the stench will draw hungry noses. I simply propose ensuring he hears from a friend. Eddard Stark's gray eyes iced over. The day I call you friend will be the day the wall melts. So poetic. But I do love a wall that melts. Baelish's smile widened. My little birds sing that Queen Cersei leaves for Casterly Rock within the month, taking the children. Why, one wonders. He tucked the blossom behind one ear. Send riders across half the realm to gather flaxen-haired babes if you wish. You will find proof enough. Or let me fetch proof for you. Sooner, safer, before the lioness flees with her cubs. Ned stared beyond the courtyard to where the Red Keep's towers clawed at morning haze. Redstone softened to rose. He thought of Robert's laughter, of the old victories that papered over the king's grief, of the ache in Catelyn's letters begging him to come home. He thought of Sansa's shining eyes on first sight of the prince and Arya's scowl when the same prince sneered at Micah in the yard. Bastardy. War. Inevitably they would reach the north and his children. I will consider your words, he said at last. No more. Littlefinger bowed with exaggerated grace. A considered threat is half a vow. I await your summons. The mockingbird on his chest flashed, and, like mist around a blade, Petter slipped away. Catelyn Stark watched the dawn above White Harbor from the Widow's Walk atop the Merman's Court, arms wrapped against a sea wind that smelled of salt and old nets. She dreamed of Eddard again, dreams where ravens bled black onto snow, where the crypts groaned open, dreams that left frost inside her lungs. She watched the sun gild the distant sails, and prayed her brother's letter would find them on calmer seas than her thoughts. If only Maester Luwin could have concealed the dread behind his reassuring words. Yet Luwin had always known Cat hated half-truths. Straight paths alone guided her fear. She heard the tread of soft-soled boots on stone behind her. Sir Roderick Castle appeared, white whiskers fluttering. My lady, he said, the ship is provisioned. We sail at noon. She nodded. Thank you, Roderick. Her gaze lingered on the horizon. I have been counting waves. A futile tally, he ventured. A distraction. She closed her eyes, picturing Bran's still form nestled in Winterfell's bedchamber, memories of his laughter echoing like distant bells. Then she shook herself. I should write to Ned. Roderick hesitated. Travel by raven is swift, yet ravens can be intercepted. I know. She opened her eyes, resolve settling like iron in her bones. Nonetheless, I cannot abide silence while storms gather. He must know that Tyrion Lannister denied any role in the dagger. He must know about Lysa's claim about, she bit her lip, about the whisper that Jon Arryn was murdered for prying too deeply. Roderick ducked his head. Then write, my lady. I will see the raven sent. Catelyn placed her hands on the balustrade, feeling the chill of carved stone. In the south, Ned danced upon knives and mummers' smiles. In the north, wolves remained penned behind walls of ice. They could not afford such distance, not anymore. At the far end of the Seven Kingdoms, in a dim chamber shadowed by drapes of Lannister crimson, Cersei held Joffrey's chin in manicured fingers, tilting his face toward the candle's glow. Gold hair shone like new-forged crowns. You are beautiful, she murmured. A king should be beautiful. Joffrey preened under her touch. I shall be greater than father, he announced. I shall conquer the free cities and bring them tribute. She smiled with half her mouth. The other half curled at memory of Robert's beer-blunted roar. And I will be beside you, guiding every stroke of the quill and every stroke of the sword. Her nails traced the line of his jaw. But beauty provokes envy. Remember that. He jerked free, impatient. Let them envy. They will kneel. Oh, they will. Cersei drank the sight of him, a chaliced draught of fierce pride and secret dread. For every echo of Jaime and Joffrey's high cheekbones, she heard Varys's padded steps in the night corridors, smelled Tywin's parchment-lined letters, that whispered of alliances unweaving. Secrets had fissures, fissures bled. A knock sounded. Sir Boris Blount entered, iron helm beneath one arm. "Your Grace, Lord Baelish begs audience." Cersei's mind sharpened. "Send him to the Hand Solar. Tell him I will be there in a moment." When Boros left, she turned to Joffrey. "Go to Myrcella. Read to her the tale of Nymeria's 10,000 ships." He wrinkled his nose. "That is for girls. War is for men. Stories for kings." She kissed his brow. "Go, Pia." Alone, she studied her reflection in a lacquered mirror. Green eyes bright as summer glass, hair a river of gold. Power had its own cosmetics, and she painted herself with it daily, though each stroke came heavier now. She must know why Littlefinger came calling. In the dim stone depths of the Red Keep, Varys padded along a torchlit passageway snaking above forgotten dungeons. The air tasted of mildew and cold iron. Behind him scuttled a boy no older than 10, barefoot, skin as dark as walnut. The boy carried a folded parchment under one skinny arm. "You saw Lord Baelish at dawn?" Varys asked softly. "Yes, my lord." "And he met with Lord Stark?" "Yes, my lord." "Did you hear their talk?" The boy hesitated. "Only some. There was mention of bastards and queens and war." Varys stopped at a wooden door bound in rusted bands. He laid a gentle hand on the child's shoulder. "You have done well. I will see you rewarded. For now, rest." The boy vanished into a side alcove. Varys continued alone into his workroom, cramped, filled with scrolls and small cages where white mice slept, then unrolled the child's transcript upon his crowded desk. The spider read swiftly, "Paetyr, you insolent mischief." He tapped a finger to his plump lips. Should the Lannisters be forewarned? Too early, perhaps. But if the wolf and the lion tore each other now, what remained of the stag? And what remained for the exiled dragon across the narrow sea? One could weave so many webs, yet an ill-timed breeze toppled all. He sealed a note with his own sigil, the spider in a golden circle, and summoned a mute servant to bear it to Grand Maester Pycelle. Old men fretted over old lines of succession. Let them fret louder. That evening, Eddard Stark sat beside Robert Baratheon beneath the flicker of 100 candles in the small hall. The king wore dusty riding leather still. He had dismounted minutes prior, cheeks ruddy from the hunt, and stinking of cordials that clung to his breath like flies. They dined alone, but for 2 guards at the door, and a silent squire refilling their cups. Robert devoured ribs of boar with savage relish, juices streaking his beard. "You live on parchment, Ned," Robert grumbled between bites. "I kill things, drink thing, and lie with things that smell sweeter than either. And still you look older than me." "I was never young," Ned answered, pushing food around his plate. "And parchment is lighter than your throne." Robert guffawed. "Come, have wine. To hell with this southern water." He gestured, and the squire poured dark arbor red into Ned's cup. Ned drank because it pleased the king, though the wine coated his tongue with bitterness. "I have news," he began. Robert waved a bone. "Tomorrow. Tonight I wish to talk of simpler days. Do you recall the brothel at Maidenpool? The one with the Myrish twins?" "Barely," Ned lied. Robert slapped the table. "A pity. You always were half dead to pleasure." He tore at another rib. "You and Stannis. Gods, that brother of mine wears scowls like bad cloaks. If Stannis ruled, flour would be measured like gold. Stannis is loyal to the law." "Ah, law." Robert rolled his eyes. "Who but you and Stannis suckle on law? I need men who suckle on victory." Ned steadied himself. "Stannis has sailed home to Dragonstone. Some would say you slighted him by naming Jaime to the Kingsguard instead of him." Robert thumped his cup. Wine sloshed. "I have my reasons." "And when did you last speak with him?" "Not since he left, but he sends letters enough, whining of coin and courtesy." Robert frowned. "You sound like you've swallowed a sword." "Out with it." Ned laid his palms flat. "Your Grace, rumors spread. Dangerous ones." Jon Arryn was prying too deeply into a matter of parentage. He felt the wine burn upward in his chest. "There are questions concerning..." The door burst open. Cerberus Anselmi strode in, white cloak swirling, helm under his arm. "Your Grace, Lord Stark." His lined face was grave. "Lord Baelish requests immediate audience. He insists it cannot wait." Robert cursed but waved assent. Moments later, Petyr Baelish entered, smirking apology. In his gloved hands lay a velvet-lined casket no larger than an apple crate. "Forgive the intrusion," he said smoothly, "but I bear a gift too precious to delay." Ned's heart hammered. A perfumed hush fell. Robert leaned back. "Is it ale? I'd forgive all for decent ale." "Na, ow. Alas, something rarer." Littlefinger set the casket upon the table. "Within lies truth." Robert shot Ned a questioning glare. Ned stiffened. Petyr unlatched the lid. Inside, upon a folded scrap of cloth, lay a polished piece of bone, half a stag's head sigil carved upon it in miniature. Beside the bone piece, Robert realized with a frown, lay a parchment sealed by wax deep green. He broke it open. His eyes flicked across the page and widened. He read again, slower. "What jest is this?" Robert whispered, but the words trembled. He shoved the parchment at Ned. It was a confession, neat lines of a pretty script, describing how Prince Joffrey Baratheon shared not a drop of Baratheon blood, but was born of incest between Queen Cersei and her twin. Ned's mouth dried. "You see the signature," Petyr murmured. "A wet nurse in Casterly Rock, of impeccable character, if impoverished purse, paid handsomely to suckle a princeling. She was parted from gold and oath both." Robert's breathing thickened. Littlefinger drew 2 more parchments from his sleeve. "An armorer's apprentice at the Street of Steel who fathered a golden-haired babe out of wedlock. The mother died. The babe," he glanced at Ned, "visited by the late hand and subsequently vanished. And lastly, your Grace, a whore in Chataya's who whelped a child near 9 months after your jousting triumph at Lannisport. Child dark of hair, but bearing your jaw." He placed the parchments down. "These, contrasted, might intrigue any father." Robert pressed thick fingers to his temples. 7 hells. Ned caught Littlefinger's sleeve. "Enough. This is no place." "On the contrary." Petyr wriggled free. "The king's table is the only place." He addressed Robert. "You asked for simple truths, your Grace. They do not come simpler." For a long moment, Robert stared at the bone token nestled in velvet. It was carved from a stag's antler. Ned recognized it as part of a child's Sivasi set. The stag's eye had been gouged out and filled with flecks of gold. Slowly, Robert turned to Ned. Wine-vinded eyes glistened. "Is it true?" His voice was not the roar of a conqueror, but the cracked whisper of a man betrayed. Ned swallowed. "I believe Jon Arryn suspected as much. I have gathered signs. Yet, your Grace, it needs proof beyond rumor before." Petyr bowed. "I can arrange proof of blood. Maesters know certain tests comparing seed to seed." "Be silent." Robert's voice thundered at last, shaking cutlery. Littlefinger inclined his head and stepped back. Robert pushed away from the table. "My son," he rasped. "My heir." He began pacing, chain of office clinking. "How many years have I worn horns and played the fool? The realm laughs behind my back." Ned rose. "Robert, we must be cautious. The Queen, the children, they are still your blood by law." "By law?" Robert rounded on him. "What law?" "The law that says I fathered a Lannister whelp." "The law I upheld at the Trident? By the gods, Ned, if this is true, I will have her head. Jaime's too." His eyelids fluttered, as though he might faint. Littlefinger stepped forward. "Might I advise?" "No," Robert growled. "No counsel from you. Get out. Both of you." Ned hesitated. Robert's eyes were wild, knuckles white upon the table's edge. "Your Grace." "Out." The king's shout sent echoes tumbling through the small hall. Baelish nodded once, glancing sidelong at Ned as if to say, "Did I not promise usefulness?" Then he left. Ned lingered only a heartbeat longer, but Robert would not look at him. The stag was wounded, and even the surest friend risked antlers. At midnight, Thunder rolled far out over Blackwater Bay, though the sky above the Red Keep remained clear. Cersei moved through shadowed gallery halls, skirts whispering, flanked by Sir Boros Dot. She felt the castle's pulse. Torches sputtering, distant footfalls, banners rustling like restless crows. Littlefinger's request gnawed at her. Summoned to the solar, then turned away after hours waiting on stone benches, while sniggering guards traded glances. He mocks me. Something twists, and Pettier sniffs profit. She entered the Queen's apartments to find Jaime sprawled on a velvet chaise, golden hair damp from the bath, a cup of wine balanced upon his knee. He smiled. I was beginning to think you'd abandon me for Grandmaster Pycelle. Does the old goat finally stir your loins? Cersei shut the door. Pater Baelish called upon Robert tonight. Jaime's smile slipped. What did that vermin want? He brought a gift. She paced, rage sparking. Something that set Robert trembling like a boy. Jaime sat straighter. What? I was not present, she hissed. But Robert dismissed the small council, locked himself in his apartments. There is talk among the guards of parchment and shouting. Jaime rose, cataswift, crossing to her. If Baelish knows, how could he? We have been careful. Yet the words tasted thin. Jaime's hand cupped her cheek. Then we remain careful. I will speak to Father. If whispers bloom, we cut tongues. Cersei closed her eyes against his palm. Tyrion once warned me Baelish hoards secrets, the way we hoard debts. She drew a breath. Joff must leave the city. If the king falters, Joff is heir. Jaime said. Is he? Fire flashed in her eyes. Not if Baelish has served Robert proof of bastardy. Not if Robert discards him as false coin. Jaime's jaw tensed. We will not scurry like mice. We will if we must. Gather the Kingsguard loyal to you. Talk to Meryn, Boros, Preston. Barristan is oathbound. He'll stand with the king, though he despises Robert's excesses. She felt dizziness rise. The careful tower of plans she had built now teetered on a knife. Jaime caught her shoulders. We hold fast. He kissed her mouth, ignoring the watching shadows. For our son. Somewhere beyond, thunder growled again. Wind rattled shutters in the Tower of the Hand. Ned paced before the guttering hearth where embers glowed like dying eyes. The confession lay upon his desk, beside Jon Arryn's notes, a vile testament inked by fearful hands. He had sent trustworthy men, Durant, Harwin, to confirm the armorer's apprentice to guard the bastards yet living. But Littlefinger moved too quickly. Perhaps the spider too. They circled secrets like wolves around a wounded elk. Father. The soft voice froze him. Sansa stood in the doorway, nightgown clutched at her throat. Her hair cascaded copper-bright in candlelight. I heard shouting, "Are you unwell?" Ned forced gentleness. "All is well, little one." He ushered her in. "The castle stirs at night. Ignore it." She worried her lip. "The prince. Joffrey says he must practice sword at dawn. He says war may come, and he must lead hosts." Her eyes shone with confusion. "What war?" Ned paused. His daughter's pretty dreams of chivalry twisted like banners in a gale. "There is no war," he told her, though even as he spoke the lie tasted ash. "Boys boast. Sleep now." He kissed her brow. Sansa studied him a moment longer, as though seeing cracks in marble, then curtsied and withdrew. When the door shut, Ned bowed his head. He heard the jangle of chainmail outside, the changing of the watch. Within hours, Robert would either reign in fury or unleash it. If Robert moved against the Queen, Tywin Lannister would not sit idle, and the realm, already bloated with old wounds, would bleed anew. He thought of Catelyn, far to the north. He thought of the Wall, of Benjen vanished beyond frozen trees. Winter is coming. The words thrummed in his skull like drum beats. A knock. "Enter," he said. Ser Jorah stepped in, face taut. "My lord, Lord Renly seeks audience. He waits below, in the middle of the night. He says it concerns the king." Ned straightened. "Bring him." Moments later, Renly Baratheon swept in. green velvet doublet half-laced, dark hair tousled. He closed the door himself. "Lord Stark," he greeted, voice low. "My brother is not himself. I saw him earlier." "Then you know Petter Baelish spilled poison in his ear." Robert roars for heads. He threatens to drag the queen before the court at dawn, proclaim the children bastards, and name a new heir. Renly's eyes gleamed fever-bright. He means to name Stannis. Ned recalled Robert's earlier scorn. "Stannis will accept." "Aye, but the Lannisters will not. They will cut their way free of the city. Blood will flow." Renly stepped closer. "I beg your help. Convince Robert to stay his wrath for 1 week. Let us gather proof that cannot be gainsaid. Stannis gone to Dragonstone. He will summon ships, soldiers. The realm may yet avoid civil war if we manage this with caution." "Meet Shao." Ned exhaled. "Robert listens to me less each day. He listens when you remind him of duty." Renly placed a hand on Ned's arm. "Use that." Before Ned could answer, footsteps echoed, heavy, armored. The door burst open to reveal Ser Barristan in white plate, visor up, but "Lord Stark, Lord Renly." He bowed curtly. "The king summons the small council at once." Renly's mouth tightened. "Then we go." The small council chamber glimmered with candle light, gold dancing on polished marble. Robert stood at the head of the table, sword belt girded, eyes rimmed red. Beside him, Grand Maester Pycelle blinked owlishly. Lord Varys hovered in lavender silk, silent. Baelish lingered near the wall, playing with a coin between nimble fingers. When Ned and Renly entered, Robert spoke in a rasp. "Sit." They did. Robert held a parchment aloft. "This, my counsel, is treason writ clear. My so-called queen has slept with her brother and filled my house with bastards." His voice cracked. "I will have Jaime's head, Cersei's head, and every whelp she birthed by him. Thus we must act." Ned shot Renly a glance, then stood. "Your Grace, I beg you, do not speak of murder. Whatever the crimes of the queen, the children are not mine." Robert slammed fist to wood. The whore lied. "They are abominations. I will not leave them to rob my true heir." His gaze swept them. "Stannis is rightful prince. I name him protector. Until my return from the hunt I must take tomorrow. But first we purge this rot." Silence stretched. Varys coughed delicately. "Your Grace, purges are untidy." Robert sneered. "You detest untidy, you nutch. Then tidy it after." Pycelle ventured. "Perhaps, sire, a quiet confinement. The queen kept under guard, the children under ward." "No," Robert said. "If Tywin marches, he marches mourning." His hands trembled. "Let that be his punishment." Ned's gorge rose. "Robert, listen to reason. Slay a boy and a girl who knew no sin. The gods will curse us all." Robert stared at him, hurt warring with fury. "You speak for them? For her? Has the North grown soft?" "I speak for honor." "Honor?" Robert spat. "Honor died with Lyanna." His shoulders sagged. "I loved her, Ned. These past nights I dream of her sweet laughter, and I wake to Cersei's lies." He dragged fingers through tangled beard. "Why should I spare her spawn?" Ned stepped forward. "Because mercy is never a mistake. Because you are not heiress." At that, something flickered behind Robert's eyes. He sank back into his chair, huge frame deflated. For a heartbeat, Ned hoped. Then Baelish spoke, voice silky. "Mercy is a fine garment for summer's feast, yet a poor shield against winter's knife. The Lannisters will raise banners. Leave them living, and they will carve this city like Trantish butchers." "Oh!" Robert stirred, gaze drifting again to the confession. He rubbed thumb over the ink. "I will think on it," he muttered. "Dawn first. Let the sun judge what must be done." "Go now." They filed out. Ned paused before Petter. "Was this your design?" Littlefinger smiled, faint as candle smoke. "Designs are overrated. I merely spin thread. Men weave or choke." He flicked the coin, caught it, and strolled away. Gray light seeped across the garden maze like milk poured upon slate. Varys found Renly beneath a twisted pear tree, face pale. "You saw?" the eunuch murmured. Renly nodded. "He will not hold." Then, the storm breaks. Varys sighed. "And who shall you shelter, Lord Renly? The crown, the lilies of Highgarden, or yourself?" Renly's gaze hardened. "Myself, I think, and those who follow me freely." He brushed past the spider, cloak swirling. Varys watched him go, expression unreadable. Within the Tower of the Hand, Ned penned a frantic letter to Catelyn, fingers cramping. He wrote of peril, of restless lions, of the king's fractured heart. He wrote that the North must prepare, that Robb must ready Winterfell's levies, but hold them until he commanded. He sealed the letter with grey wax and the direwolf stamp. Tamard waited to bear it north. As Ned affixed the seal, he heard commotion in the yard. Hooves, shouts, clashing steel. He hurried to the window. Below, gold-hand crimson guardsmen swarmed through the gates, Lannister shields glinting. At their head rode Ser Jaime in full armor, face cold brass, sword unsheathed. Ned's breath caught. Robert's dawn of deliberation was still hours distant, yet Jaime moved as though war had begun. Ned snatched his cloak, shouted for Jory. Time to place walls between lions and wolves. One day more, he thought. We needed one day. But the bells of the Red Keep began to peal, high and frantic. And in their knell, he heard the realm fracture like ice under a sudden thaw, each crack branching, unstoppable. He drew ice from its oaken stand, the greatsword's runes glimmering blue along the fuller. Honor would not win this night, but honor might yet save innocent blood, if wielded swiftly. Ned Stark hurried into the waking storm, knowing winter's first howl had only just begun. In a torchlit corridor, Littlefinger paused at an arrow slit, watching columns of gold move like ribbon down the hill road toward the Lion Gate. His lips curved. Somewhere above, thunder rumbled yet again, though the sky above King's Landing flashed with no lightning. Storms, it seemed, no longer cared for rain. He flipped the coin once more, caught it, and slipped into the darkness, where what little remained of peace waited to be suffocated, soft and silent as a babe in the cradle. Morning had not yet broken. And yet, before the sun claimed the sky, swords would. How? The bell's frantic clamor still echoed along the inner walls when Eddard Stark emerged from the tower. Torches flickered in the restless breeze, scattering sparks across the flagstones where a wet sheen caught the ruddy light. The courtyard teemed, Stark men clustering behind Jory, Lannister guardsmen flooding in ranks of red enamel shields, gold cloaks materializing as if from the stone itself. Sleepy grooms clutched reins, eyes wide. Somewhere a horse reared screaming, the sound knifed through Ned's heart like memory of another night long ago, on the slopes beneath the Trident. Ser Jaime rode at the center of the Lannister vanguard, his white cloak rippling behind gilded plate. Moonlight glimmered along the lion-headed pommel of his unsheathed sword. He reined in atop the flagstones, armor creaking, and lifted the visor of his helm. Cool amusement shone in his green eyes. "Lord Stark," Jaime called across the hush. "I feared you would sleep through my visit." Ned strode forward, ice resting on one mailed shoulder. Jory and Harwin matching his pace. "Sheath your blade, Kingslayer. This is the king's castle, not your father's yard." Jaime's laugh rang, bright as kettle drums. "Small distinction that. Your Northmen bar my sister's door. Release her handmaidens, and my men will withdraw. My men guard the queen at the king's command." Jaime's smile thinned. "And the king commands at your whisper, so rumors say. Release my sister, Lord Stark. Let us spare King's Landing a sunrise of corpses." "Dilhuna covered. Wow." Ned's boots scuffed through scattered straw as he halted 10 paces distant. "Your sister will remain under guard until the king decides her fate come dawn. I advise you return to the rock while roads remain open." Jaime's helm tilted. "And abandon my blood. A wise man mends a cracked wall before it crumbles on his head." Jaime leaned forward in the saddle, voice supple iron. "A wiser man kills the masons chipping at the mortar. Last chance, Stark." His gauntlet brushed the pommel in silent threat. Within Ned, cold clarity settled. He had witnessed Robert's rage and Robert's despair, and he had felt the realm tilt upon their fulcrum. If the lions bared claws now, ice must answer. He lifted the greatsword, its 2 yards of Valyrian steel sighing out of its oiled sheath. Runic frost shimmered in the lamplight. Jaime's grin widened. Albeit. Time cracked. Lannister spears leveled. Stark shields locked. Gold cloaks hesitated, uncertain which loyalty bore safer coin. Jory barked an order, and Winterfell retainers stepped up. Axes poised. Ice felt heavy, a promise Ned never wished to keep. A horn blast split the air from the ramparts above. All eyes jerked skyward. A second blast followed. Lower, longer. Signal of the city watch. Then a third. Reinforcement. Torches flared along the walls as scores of gold cloaks poured onto the parapets, crossbows loaded, their captains swaggering forward beneath a striped standard. Ned recognized the hulking form of Janos Slynt. The watch had been purchased gold cloak and soul by Littlefinger's coin, yet now they gathered at a gesture from the crown, or from whichever purse rattled loudest this hour. Ned's stomach coiled. Slynt cupped gloved hands around his mouth. "Hold, sir." His voice boomed. Order of the Hand and the small council, no bloodshed inside the walls. Jaime barked a laugh. "Tell that to Lord Stark. He means to hold the queen hostage." Slynt scratched his beard. "The king's gone to the royal sept to pray." A lie. Robert was drowning himself in poppy and wine, but the fiction served to halt immediate slaughter. Both sides stand down. Any who cross steel tonight answer to his grace himself on the morrow. The city watchmen cocked their crossbows for emphasis. Jaime's sneer faltered. His gaze climbed the wall. 200 coral tips stood ready, aimed at the rich seams of his armor. He could carve through 10 Starks, perhaps 20, yet no golden lion defied a hail of bolts at such range. He sheathed his blade with a hiss. "Another dawn then," he said softly to Ned. "Pray I don't mislay my temper." "You mislaid your honor years ago," Ned answered. Jaime wheeled his horse, cloak snapping. "Honor," he called over a shoulder, "is a sword too heavy for most men to lift." He spurred away, Lannister men following in a clatter of hooves and snarling banners. Torches dimmed in the retreat's vacuum. Ned felt his shoulders sag. Jory murmured, "We breathe yet, my lord?" "Breathe I," Ned said, voice tired as winter hills. "But we bleed soon." He turned to Slynt, who licked greedy lips. "Captain, see the gate barred against further company. If Stannis enters unnoticed from the bay, let him find gold cloaks loyal to the crown, not to coin." Slynt gave a bob of a bow. "As you command, Lord Stark." He shuffled off, glancing over one shoulder, perhaps weighing how many dragons Littlefinger promised against how many Ned might provide. Ned sheathed ice. "Jory double guard on the queen's apartments and on my daughters. Harwin rouse Maester Franken for a raven. Winterfell must know the lion prowls." Iron-shod feet scattered to their duties, and the courtyard, momentarily battlefield, sank back into uneasy hush. Dawn still an hour distant, yet the sky already bruised the color of faded roses. Ned rubbed grit from his eyes. Somewhere inside the keep, Renly planned, Varys wove, Baelish counted. At the center of the web waited Robert, stinking of drink, a signed order for deaths perhaps drying on his desk. Ned drew a long breath of sea-tinged air and tasted coming ash. He climbed the Tower of the Hand, each step leaden. In his solar, the candles had guttered, dripping wax like pale tears. He sank before the hearth and opened John Arryn's ledger. Page after page of names, descriptions, notes written in a hand both precise and desperate. The late hand had stood on the brink of truth and tumbled into silence. Ned traced the margins, thinking of a falcon's flight cut short by an unseen arrow. A knock scraped. Renly entered, cloak swirling. His face showed sleeplessness and resolve in equal measure. "Your skirmish below. They say the Kingslayer nearly drew blood." "Nearly is mercy," Ned said. "What news of your brother?" Renly poured wine, hands trembling. Robert locked himself in Maegor's holdfast with 2 of his biggest guards, and a cask of strong wine. He refuses audience. Ned folded the ledger. Then we must move before Cersei does. Renly nodded grimly. I have 20 Stormlanders sworn to me, plus Lord Garland's knights due at first light. He hesitated, eyes intent. If Robert is unfit, we might persuade him to name a regent, someone the realm trusts. Stannis, Ned said. Renly's jaw tightened. Stannis is lawful, yes, but no man follows him for love. War demands hearts as well as banners. He stopped, measuring Ned's reaction. If Robert were to name me protector until his health returns, we might present a united Baratheon front. Ned considered the young lord's earnestness, the storm-crowned stag upon his cloakpin. Ambition flickered behind Renly's calm like lightning behind clouds. Yet perhaps his humor could temper the realm's fear. And yet again, Stannis possessed iron. Laws bent for no one under his gaze. Robert must speak, Ned said at last. Until then, all is smoke. Renly's shoulders slumped. Smoke kills as surely as fire. He set down the cup. My men will stand ready. After Renly left, Ned sat motionless until cockcrow echoed down distant alleys. He rubbed at the ache between his eyes, thinking of Kat's last kiss pressed like candle-warm wax upon his mouth. Gods keep her safe. Outside, pale gold spilled along battlements. Dawn at last. Time to face the king. He collected Ser Jorah and entered Maegor's holdfast through the outer barbican. The walls loomed thick, designed for siege but presently holding only a single drunk king. Inside, guardsman Heward nodded them through the reinforced door. The corridor smelled of stale sweat and spilled wine. Robert Baratheon slouched in a high-backed chair by the shuttered window of his bedchamber. Shirt unlaced, belly spread beneath a fist-stained purple. An empty flagon lay on the floor. One bleary eye lifted to Ned. You, Robert's voice rasped dry. Thought you'd ride north by now. He waved. Sit, if I haven't cut the legs off my own stool. Ned remained standing. The city sits on the edge of slaughter. You must act, godly or devilish, but act, Robert. Robert massaged his temple. Act I shall. Today we hunt, tomorrow we slay lions. He grunted amusement. Hunting is kinder than court. Boars at least die honest. Hunting? Ned tasted bile. Abandon the capital when Jaime rallies men, when Tywin sharpens swords in the west. Robert lurched upright, staggering. I need air, not gossip. If I stay, I drown myself in that bitch's lies. He glared. Come hunt with me. Fresh air clears thoughts sweeter than sept hymns. Ned stepped forward. Send others. You must confront Cersei. Mim? Oh. Robert wagged a finger. I will once my head stops pounding. Tonight we feast. Tomorrow I speak before the court. Bring your parchments, show the world her treason. His eyes glittered with a child's spite. I want to see her face when I read the charges. Ned pressed. And the children? Robert's jaw clenched. I will think on the children. He shuffled toward a chest, rummaging for boots. A roar echoed from the yard below. Stable hands cheering some jest. Robert flinched. 7 hells. Enough words. Ride with me or stay and babysit my queen. Man, I will stay, Ned whispered. Robert paused in doorway, silhouette framed by pale sun. Honorable to the end, stark. Pray honor keeps you warm. Then, he barged past his guards and was gone, trailing half-buckled queer-ass straps. Ned exhaled. He caught Jory's eye. Find Lord Renly. Tell him Robert departs. Double watch on the Hands Tower, the girls' His Majesty's vaults, everything. Jory bowed and left. Ned turned for the corridor, and found Varys at his elbow, silent as a wraith. Good morrow, cooed the spider. Our lioness is awake. She prepares, I think, a cage of her own making. Ammo. What say your little birds? They chirp that Lord Tywin marches from Casterly Rock with 2,000 heavy horse, ostensibly to collect Lord Kevin at King's Landing for a family council. Varys' whispers caressed the stone like silk on bone. But 2,000 is a fearsome retinue for fatherly advice. Ned's pulse quickened. How many days? 5 if they ride hard. Send a raven to Dragonstone, command Lord Stannis to sail for the capital with all due haste. By Robert's word. Ned's voice sharpened. And send word north. Winterfell must ready to march. They. Varys inclined his head. As the hand commands. He glided away. Ned strode for the Queen's apartments. The fortified door stood open. Maidservants flitted inside, packing trunks. Lannister guards watched with stoic faces. Ser Boros Blount blocked Ned's path. My lady prepares to journey, Boros stated. On whose order? Ned asked. The Queen's. Ned brushed past him. Inside, Cersei stood before a full-length mirror, hair unbound, a diaphanous gown of forest green clinging to curves like ivy. She caught his eye in the glass. Come to lecture me. Her voice carried the calm of a lioness basking. Robert will hold court this evening, Ned said. He intends to read charges. Cersei dabbed oil upon her cheekbones. Charges? A word scribbled by a whore and delivered by a treacherous pimp. She smiled faintly. I imagine my lord husband trembles with righteous fury. Yet I see no crown upon Stannis' brow, no warhorn on Renly's belt. When the tempest breaks, who shields Robert? He is your king. Cersei turned, the gown swirling like green fire. He ceased being my king the day he struck me. The day he moved a finger inside another woman while I carried his child. She stepped closer. Does northern honor blind you so entirely? Robert is weak. Jaime is my sword. Tywin my gauntlet. You, Lord Stark, are merely stone in their path. Ned met her gaze, ice on jade. Leave the city, take your children, I will escort you to a ship. She laughed. Your mercy is a coward's armor. I will not scuttle to Casterly Rock like some frightened rabbit. When Robert tarries on his hunt, the realm will look for a steady hand. Mine will be there. Ned's breath hitched. You plot to seize the throne. A throne unguarded begs to be sat upon. He studied her. You are as reckless as your son. Joffrey is a lion, not a stag. Fire flared behind her eyes. And lions do not beg. Ned turned on his heel, disgust curdling in his gut. Outside, sunlight struck the crenellations harshly. The city glittered like broken glass. The hunt party thundered out the lion gate. Robert at its head, laughter brittle against the wind, unaware he rode toward destiny's sharp tusk. Midday's heat lay heavy when Renly found Ned across the practice yard. The young lord's cheeks flushed. Stark men report the queen packing. We cannot let her flee. Ned wiped sweat from brow. She means to rule, not flee. He lowered his voice. Gather your knights discreetly. If Robert falls to mishap on this hunt, we must forestall Cersei's coup. Renly's nostrils flared. And seat whom? Stannis? The law. Renly's mouth compressed, but he nodded. My men are yours at dusk. The day crawled upon sand's slow legs. Dust swirled along cobbles as smiths hammered, as fishmongers hawked, as spies whispered into passing ears. Ned penned commands, dispatched ravens, heard tidings. Tywin's host confirmed on the march. Lennisport fleet provisioning. Storms and banners stirring. Riverlords uneasy. Each thread tightened the noose. Near sunset, bells tolled again. Dull. Funereal. Ned knew before Hullen burst in, face gray. The king, Hullen gasped. Wounded. A boar gored him, deep in the belly. They're carrying him through Mud Gate now. Ned's world narrowed to a howl. He ran, boots pounding corridors, cape snapping like a pennant of doom. Down flights, across the outer ward, through throngs of small folk pressed to glimpse their king. Robert lay pale upon a litter borne by 6 men, crimson soaking his tunic, entrails bound by torn cloak. His head lolled, breath a wet rattle. Renly followed, face white as chalk, hands blood-speckled. They bore Robert into his bedchamber. Maesters swarmed, tucking leeches, brewing poppy. Ned forced through, kneeling beside the bed. Robert's lids fluttered. Ned, he croaked, spittle foaming pink. By gods, that beast. Big as a horse. His fingers brushed Ned's sleeve. Wine slowed me. Damn fool. Nanondi. Save your strength. Ned felt tears he could not allow. Robert's gaze sharpened a moment. Paper, he whispered. Right. My last will. Poppy drenched his speech, but resolve still flickered. Name. You, protector. Until, boy, come of age. The maester pressed quill into Ned's hand. He dipped, wrote as Robert dictated, I hereby name Eddard Stark Lord Protector of the realm, to rule until my legitimate son Joffrey attains his majority. Ned paused at legitimate, ink hovering. He thought of black hair, gold hair lies. The realm balanced on a single word. He wrote true-born heirs instead, heart thundering. Robert signed with thumbprint, smeared red. Burn it, he muttered. And the queen. His eyes glazed. Ned gripped his friend's hand. Words lodged in his throat. Robert Baratheon, the man who shattered dragons, who laughed like storms, who loved like wildfire, sank beneath a sea of pain. Outside, torches flared in twilight. Inside, life dripped onto sheets. Renly, standing opposite, met Ned's gaze. We must move now. Ned rose, numb-eyed. Call the council. Within the hour, Grand Maester Pycelle tottered into the council chamber, carrying Robert's will. Varys and Littlefinger arrived side by side, silk and mischief. Renly took the Baratheon seat. Ser Barristan lingered grim-faced. Cersei did not appear. Ned stood. The king is dying. His will names me protector until his heir reigns. Grand Maester, read. Pycelle cleared throat, spectacles glinting. He read in quavering tone. When he reached true-born heirs, Littlefinger's brows arched. Varys' mouth curved subtle. Renly slammed palm. We must secure the succession this instant. I propose we take Joffrey into custody for his safety. The queen, too. Barristan bristled. Take a prince into custody. For protection. Renly stressed. Ned interjected. We will summon Stannis. Until his arrival, no rash moves. He surveyed them all. The king's peace must hold. Littlefinger spun his mockingbird pin. Peace is born of clarity. Perhaps we test the boy's blood. He smiled when Ned glared. The door opened. Cersei swept in clad in black velvet, flanked by Ser Boros and Ser Meryn. Her green eyes glinted like cut glass. I grieve, lords, yet duty triumphs sorrow. She accepted Robert's will from Pycelle, eyes flicking. Lord Protector, how noble! She folded the parchment calmly, slipped it into her sleeve. The king yet lives. I will sit vigil by his bed. You may all attend or depart. Renly rose sharply. We act now. Cersei's smile cut. Act, sweet lord, and spill the first blood. The city will judge. She turned and departed before argument could form, guards closing ranks behind. Littlefinger exhaled a theatrical sigh. When lions smile, mice must mind their tails. Renly stormed from chamber. Ned caught his sleeve in hallway. Do nothing foolish. One thrust through the queen ends her plots. Renly hissed. And unleashes Tywin. Hold your blade. Ned released him. That night, torches ringed Maegor's holdfast like watchful eyes. Cersei sat at Robert's bedside, dabbing his brow, humming lullabies from her youth. Outside timbered doors, Kingsguard rotated shifts. Kingsguard chosen by Cersei. Ned retreated to the Hands Tower. He summoned Jory, Tomard, Vayan Poole. At dawn we escort Sansa and Arya to Winterfell. Pack lightly. He penned a final letter to Stannis. Robert dying, bastardy proven. Come claim your crown. He sealed it with direwolf wax, and gave it to Harwin with orders to ride for Dragonstone tonight, taking the fastest galley from the harbor. Midnight bells tolled. Suddenly, horns blared near the Lion Gate. 3 quick notes, then cries. Ned jerked to his feet. Through the window, he saw orange bloom along the outer wall. Torches, dozens, then hundreds. The Lannister host of the Western Roads had arrived in the night, rather than days hence. Steel glinting like dawn. Jaime Lannister rode at its head, hair gleaming in torchfire. Inside the keep, sirens wailed. Gold cloaks scrambling. Ned's mouth went dry. Littlefinger had lied. Tywin had ridden farther than the scouts reported, carved distance in half by forced march. Jaime intended to seize the capital before Robert's heart ceased. Ned bolted for the stairs, shouting for armor. Wolves must stand before the lion's jaws. Across the city, bells tumbled peal over peal, each a prophecy of ruin. K. Boot heels hammered stone as Ned descended the tower's stairs 3 at a time, the draft of his passage guttering torches along the spiral. In the yard below, steel rang sharp against steel. The clamor of half-armed night guard scrambling to stand to, the shouted roll call of Stark retainers forming ranks. Cold sweat slicked Ned's palms on the grip of ice. He burst into the open, lungs punched by the reek of smoke. Pitch torches bobbed in thick clusters along the western wall, each an ember reflected in the polished curve of a helm. Sir Joffrey met him at the base of the stair, hair windswept, helm under one arm. 2,000, perhaps more, he reported. The Lannisters' bivouac outside the Lion Gate, archers stringing longbows along the rise. Signal flags? Ned asked. Joffrey shook his head. None. Either they expect entry without parley or mean to ring us in. A shout rose near the stables. Horses wheeled, panicked by the din. Ned drew a breath to clear his mind. The air tasted of iron and lamp oil. Double lines in the outer yard. Shields front. Spears staggered. No arrows loosed unless the lions charge. Nanny no. Eh, my lord. Jory's gauntlet thumped against breastplate. He turned away, voice cracking commands. Ned strode on. Outside the armory, a smith hammered dented mail into shape, sparks skipping across cobbles. 3 more capacks of arrowheads, Ned ordered. Delivered to the north tower. The smith nodded, never pausing his rhythm. He crossed the courtyard toward the Kingsguard barracks, where a cluster of white cloaks stood in uncertain debate. Sir Barristan, aged yet unbowed. Sir Preston Greenfield, scowling. Sir Eris Oakhart, fresh-cheeked but steel-eyed. Barristan saw him first. Lord Stark. The old knight inclined his head. Sir Jaime's company grows by the hour. They ordered ladders fetched from the dockyards. That betrays intention, Ned said. Will you stand for the realm, or for the queen? A bleak grief clouded Barristan's eyes. I swore my sword to the crown, not the sitter. Until the king breathes no more, I am bound. He gripped the hilt of his blade. But I will not aid unlawful assault. Sir Preston's gaze flicked elsewhere. Sir Aris stepped subtly behind the Lord Commander. Ned understood. The King's Guard stood divided, yet Barristan's word restrained at least half. A trumpet sounded from the direction of the Lion Gate. A single rising note that tore the night like silk. The courtyard stilled. Ned angled toward the battlements. Heward awaited atop the parapet nearest the gatehouse, spyglass to his eye. Moonlight silvered the field beyond. Waves of helmeted figures. Banners streaming crimson and gold. Flashes of torchlight across mail. At their head rode a standard-bearer, lofting the Lion of Lannister beneath a banner of pure white. Parley? They advance, Heward murmured. 1 rider, 4 guards. Ned's knuckles whitened on Ice's hilt. Open the wicket when they hail, he told the guard captain. No more than 5 pass inside. Lock the bar behind them. Minutes later, hooves clattered on the stone apron before the gate. Torches dipped, voices echoed. The portcullis grated upward to chest height and a narrow iron door swung wide. Through it walked Saradam Marbrand, copper hair catching the firelight, his breastplate chased with hammered suns. 4 red cloaks flanked him. Visors lowered. Marbrand doffed helm and bowed. Lord Stark, he called up the wall. Sir Jaime bids words under banner of peace. Ned descended the stair to meet him within the shadow of the gatehouse. The 2 men faced each other amid flickering torch glow. Stone arch overhead casting long wedges of darkness. What says the Kingslayer? Ned asked. Marbrand's smile looked wry. He says our army has marched far, and would shelter within the city rather than soil fine cloaks on the riverbank. Ned snorted. Jaime may shelter in Casterly Rock. The city gates stay shut, Marbrand's expression hardened. The queen remains queen. Her host requires quarter. Deny us, and we draw swords at dawn. Her Grace remains under guard by Robert's order, a king still living. Ned's voice iced over. Any move against these walls before the king's judgment is treason. You lecture me on treason. Marbrand stepped close. Your Northmen ring the royal apartments. You seek to impose the will of Stannis upon the crown. I uphold Robert's will. Ned stiffened. Tell Jaime to stand down. The spider's webs will not hold this city. If swords unsheath. The Lannister knight weighed him in silence. Torches crackled. Finally, he replaced his helm. Dawn, he promised. Choose. He turned on a heel, escort melting into shadows as the wicket slammed shut behind. Ned watched them ride back into the night. Above, stars shivered behind a gauze of low cloud, like a field of cold fire. Cersei sat motionless beside Robert's bed, the glow of a dozen candles gilding her sharp profile. Robert's breaths rasped shorter now, each inhalation a battle. Poppy trapped him in delirium. His head rolled left, lips mouthing memories. Names of old drinking companions, long-dead brothers in arms, a woman's name he would never speak sober. Sweat beaded his brow, and soaked linen sheets turned pink by seepage from the wound. Grand Maester Pycelle hovered like a pallid rook. "He fades, my queen," he sighed. "At sunrise we may prepare the pyre." Cersei's mouth curved. Baratheons burn. Lannisters bury. She dabbed Robert's forehead. He will have a sepulture in the city he coveted more than life. Pycelle bowed. "As you command." His joints creaked as he sidled toward the door. "Maester." She halted him with a word. "Fetch Sir Boros and Sir Meryn. They are to guard this chamber. None but myself or you pass until my son arrives." Pycelle swallowed, beard trembling. The hand may gnaw his northern conscience elsewhere. Her eyes never left Robert's flushed face. "Do as I say." He bobbed another bow and departed. Silence pooled. Outside, distant horns sounded. Cersei rose and strode to a tall casement. Below, the practice yard glimmered with torchlight. Stark men scurried like ants in frantic geometry, dragging barrels, erecting palisades near the gate arch. Wolves lay stones while the lion paced beyond. A tightness blossomed in her chest. Fear, excitement, something older. She pressed a hand against her stomach, remembering another night, long ago. Jaime's fevered kiss and the shock of pleasure, when he whispered, "Ours." The child inside her then, the boy who became Joff, had coiled her life around one purpose, to see the lion's cub crowned. That purpose sharpened now into a blade. She turned back to Robert. His chest hitched. She laid a gentle finger upon his lips. "Sleep," she murmured. "One more hunt, and you are free." She moved to the door, black velvet swirling. Guards snapped to attention. "Summon Prince Joffrey," she instructed, "and Sir Jaime. The hour is come." Arya Stark crouched in the gloom beneath the armory's back stair, needle clutched in both fists. The sword felt absurdly light, her pulse absurdly loud. Torchlight slanted through the half-open door, where Master-at-Arms Terence had left in haste. Shouts drifted across the yard, men barking orders in the harsh accent of father's bannermen. She should be in her chamber. Septa Mordane had locked the door, but Arya slipped out the window, climbed down the mulberry tree, and scuttled across roofs until the clamor drew her. Something terrible unrolled through the night's fabric. She felt it thrumming like black wings. She peered along the alley between forge and stables. A pair of gold cloaks hurried past, carrying bundles of quarrels. One muttered, "Bought or broke? My purse says lion's gold spends sweeter." The other laughed, and they vanished around a corner. Arya bit her lip. She had to reach father, but the courtyard swarmed with giants. She thought of Sirio's lessons. Swift as a cat, quiet as shadow. She sheathed needle, pressed against the wall, and slid along crates until she reached the reeking tannery yard. There, pig hides soaked in vats. She wrinkled her nose. No guards watched. Men feared the smell. Across lay the postern stair, up the inner curtain. From that vantage, she could spy the king's tower, or slip behind the sept. She darted, sandals silent on sodden ground, and mounted the stair. At the top parapet, she crouched, wind tugging her braid. Fires dotted the curtain walk. Below, she saw the western gate, saw the host of crimson lanterns beyond, endless as lantern flies. She hugged her knees. Suddenly dizzy. Winterfell's walls had felt wide and safe. These walls felt like a thin eggshell between claws. A hand closed on her shoulder. She whirled, punching with a fist, not the blade, Syria would chide, and struck leather. "Oh, little wolf," whispered a familiar voice. It was Gendry, the bull-headed armorer's apprentice father once questioned. Soot still smudged his cheek. A hammer hung from his belt. Arya exhaled. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Looking for a place to breathe," he said. "The yard's thick with men choosing sides." He squinted into the dark. "Those lions showed quick. Doesn't smell right." Arya nodded. "My father must know." Gendry grimaced. "He knows. I saw Jory barking orders like a mad hound." "Then I'll help." She tried to wriggle free, but his grip stayed her. "Best you hide. War's no place for. I'm not a babe." She backed away. "Needle sings as sweet as any steel." To prove, she drew the blade. Moonlight slid along the narrow edge. Gendry tilted his head, admiration mixing with exasperation. "Keep it hidden. If the gold cloaks swap cloaks for lions, they'll cut any wolf they meet." Nenetider saw her. Arya sheathed again but refused to cower. "Will you stand with us?" He stared toward the forging district. "There's talk the king's dying. If that's true, the city belongs to whoever holds the Red Keep. Or the gold. I'm no knight, just a bastard with a hammer." He met her eyes. "But I won't let them gut children." Arya felt warmth ignite in chest. "Then watch the gate. Warn father if they move." Gendry nodded once. Arya slipped off along the parapet, heartbeat steadying. Inside the solar of the Tower of the Hand, a map of King's Landing sprawled across the table. Stones waiting corners. Candles guttered low. Ned leaned over the vellum with Renly, Littlefinger, and Janos Slint. Northmen guarded the corridor outside, yet Ned felt wolves enclosed by vipers. Renly tapped a miniature stag carved of jetwood atop the Heartgate marker. "My men hold this approach. Garland's knights fortify cobbled lane to the dragon pit. If Lannisters breach the inner gate, we funnel them uphill and flank." Littlefinger lounged on a window seat, twirling a quill. "Assuming the gold cloaks uphold their oaths," he smiled. Ned's gaze bored into Slint. "Captain?" Slint tugged his mustache. "My lord hand, the watch obeys the throne," he said. "We keep order." Ned's voice dropped. "I command in Robert's name." "We obey," Slint affirmed, a touch too smooth. Littlefinger interjected. "We might ensure loyalty by swallowing pride and silver bow." He flicked an iron keyring onto the map. "The city vaults hold 6,000 golden dragons. A modest stipend for keeping the streets peaceful." Ned stiffened. "I will not bribe men to honor." Littlefinger shrugged. "Then pray honor outshines gold." Renly cleared his throat. "Sir Jaime sends messenger hourly, demanding entrance. At first light, he will test the gate." Ned rubbed tired eyes. "We must survive the night. At dawn, I will present Robert's sealed will to the full council. And to Sir Barristan. If the city sees the Lord Commander accept me, wavering hearts may firm." Littlefinger's smile thinned. "Unless the city sees the queen place a crown on her boy first." Renly slammed fist. "Let her try. I will carve it from her head." "Meowertio." Ned's glare quelled him. No more talk of carving. He turned to Slint. "You posted men at every gate." "Ay, my lord." "Keep them there. No man opens without word from me." Slint bowed and left. Littlefinger rose, dusting sleeves. "I shall smooth ruffled feathers among the merchants. A hungry city riots before it rebels. Cannot have that." He strolled toward the door. "Pater," Ned called. The coin lord paused. "When dawn breaks, I will require 1,500 gold cloaks inside the keep itself, no less. Littlefinger inclined his head. 1,500. His eyes glinted. 8 dawn. He vanished. Renly exhaled. Do you trust him? I trust his self-interest, Ned said. Tonight that serves us. But as he spoke, dread coiled serpentine. Littlefinger's self-interest drifted like a sail, turning to whatever breeze promised power. Boot steps echoed. Jory re-entered. Lady Sansa begs audience, my lord. Ned's shoulders sagged. Send her. Sansa slipped in, cheeks blotched from tears. She curtsied. Father, they say the king is dying. Ned rounded the table to embrace her. He sleeps under healing draught. She clutched his tunic. Joffrey says the queen will rule. He says Prince Tommen has new armor. He says... Tears spilled. Please, can we stay? I love him. A pang speared Ned. He tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear, thinking how Catelyn once wept over Brandon's grave. We must go home when it's safe. One day, perhaps you'll return. I don't want to leave him. Her voice quavered. I'm to be queen. A pounding sounded on the door. Lord Stark. Tamard's gruff bark. Riders from the West Road. Ned cursed under breath. He kissed Sansa's brow. To your chambers. Pack your needles and ribbons. Be ready. She fled, skirts whispering. Renly watched, face softening. The young pay for the old. Ned steeled. They always have. In the royal stables, Jaime Lannister stood stroking the muzzle of a restless warhorse. Gold hair unhelmed, armor only half fastened. Cersei approached, flanked by torchbearers and Sir Osmond Kettleblack Dot. Jaime's eyes warmed. News? He asked. Robert will not see the dawn, she whispered. Our father's host surrounds the city by dawn next. We must seize the boy's throne tonight. He stroked the horse's mane. Stark lines the gate with spears. Spears quiver in the face of gold, she answered. Littlefinger bought the watch at dusk. At the hour of the owl, the gold cloaks change colors. Her lips brushed his ear. At the hour of the owl, the hand falls. Jaime's grin tilted. Pater sells many things. Loyalty is cheapest. He stepped back. Then we ready the prince. He sleeps in the maiden vault. Cersei adjusted the clasp at Jaime's gorget. Wake him gently. Tell him hero stories. When the bells toll prime, he walks the Iron Throne. And Stark? Her eyes burned emerald. His head will adorn the ramparts. Jaime kissed her hair. For you, my love. He swung into the saddle. 8, the hour of the owl. Sometime past midnight, Ned sat alone before the hearth. Ice propped beside him. Flames stooped low, devouring the last of the log. He turned a signet ring over and finger. Silver direwolf, eyes 2 small garnets. It had belonged to his father. Tomorrow, he might wield it to seal war. A scratch announced Varys gliding inside. My lord, the eunuch whispered. Dark winds gather. Tywin's outriders encircle the North Road. And the watch. They bristle with new coin. Now sir. Ned leaned forward. How many stand with me? Northmen. Stormlanders loyal to Renly. Some river lords caught in the city. 600 within the keep, perhaps another 1,000 across the city. The queen's partisans, including many gold cloaks, number near double. He spread plump hands. Numbers seldom favor righteousness. Ned closed eyes. Tell me something hopeful, Spider. Varys shifted. Hope is fragile. Yet your wife sails down the neck. Ravens whisper she must reach White Harbor in days. If she brings Hostet Tully's banners, the Riverlands may rise beside the north. Nowar. And Stannis? Worse tidings. Varys sighed. My little birds at Dragonstone perch silent. Storm seas delay all. Ned rubbed his brow. Then dawn decides. Varys nodded. I will pray to the many-faced gods for your safety, my lord. Perhaps one will listen. He slipped away like breath fading from a corpse. On the curtain walk, above the king's gate, Arya crouched behind a merlon as minutes passed like falling sand. Gendry had moved on, replaced by a rangy knight's watched deserter. Conscripted to the wall who smoked a pipe, indifferent to her presence. She stared into the dark, eyelids heavy. Footsteps padded behind. She spun. A slender boy approached. The little baker's boy Hot Pie called Pat. Cheeks freckled copper. He carried a covered basket. "Bread for the watch," he whispered, unslinging it. "Hungry." Arya's stomach growled. He offered a small loaf. She bit, crumbs catching wind. "Big folk all mad tonight," Pate said. "Mother says we'll hide in the cellars." The pipe-smoking watchman grunted. "Smart mother." Below, the lion gate remained shut, its iron-bound doors glimmering faintly. Yet as Arya munched, she saw torches stir near the sally port, the small iron door inside the larger gate. Two silhouettes approached, one in the garb of the gold cloaks, another wearing a half-cloak of russet. They exchanged a bundle. Silver flashed. The door eased open a thumb's width. Arya stiffened. "They're letting in lions," she hissed. The watchman blinked, then swore. He turned, raising alarm, but an arrow thudded into his throat from somewhere below. He sagged, gurgling. Pate screamed. Arya dragged the younger boy down behind the Merlin. "Go," she whispered and shoved him toward the stair. He scuttled off. Arya rose enough to peer through the crenelle. The sally port now yawned wide. A dozen red cloaks filed inside, blades bare. They moved swift, silent, like ants pouring from an anthill. Gold cloaks led them, guiding through inner yard. Betrayal. Dot. Arya's pulse pounded. She had to warn father. She turned to run, then froze, hearing more boots behind. Another knot of red cloaks clambered atop the wall from outside ladders, having used the distraction. She ducked beneath a parapet, heart thudding against ribs. An armored footman passed within arm's reach. She smelled boiled leather. She waited, counted heartbeats, then slithered like shadow along the walkway, descending a servant ladder into the granary yard. Behind, screams erupted. Stark sentries ambushed. She sprinted across courtyard stones cold under bare soles, ducking beneath wagon axles, weaving through crates till she reached the postern to the Hand's Tower. Two Stark guards stood there, Tomard and Vayan Poole. She gasped words. Lions in the gate. Gold cloaks betrayed. And they shared a look. Tomard cursed. "Warn the Lord." He shoved Poole inside. Arya's lungs burned, but she turned back. She had to find Sansa. Janos Slint leaned on his halberd at the foot of the keep's grand stair, gold cloak hanging heavy with midnight dew. Littlefinger emerged from narrow passage, adjusting embroidered sleeves. "Done?" Slint asked. "Done." Littlefinger smiled fox smooth. "The lions owe you captaincy for life." Slint rubbed thumb to forefinger. "In coin." "In due course." They started up the stair toward the council chamber. Motive hid behind their mutual silence like a snake coiled in a boot. Halfway, a clash rang above, steel on steel, men shouting. Slint barked to his four guards. "Stay!" Littlefinger's eyes narrowed. Wolves bite quicker than predicted. Ned had donned full mail when Vayan Poole burst in, face chalk. "Betrayal!" Gold cloaks turn. Lions inside the yard. Before Ned could respond, the tower shook with distant impact. Ram at the postern, perhaps. Jory entered next, sword bloody. "The gate is lost," he said. "But we hold the yard stairs." Renly behind him panted anger. "My knights rally at the sept. We must strike now. Slay the queen and the boy." Ned seized his elbow. "You will not. Innocence may yet live." "Innocence, if we delay," Renly spat. He yanked his arm free and stormed out, helm clutched in gauntlet. "Jory with me," Ned ordered. "Guards on my daughters. Escape route through the buttery." A thunder of boots on the stair below. Gold cloaks rushing upward. Stark men braced in the corridor. Jory flashed a grim smile. "Keep shield behind, my lord. I'll cut through." They formed wedge, Jory at point, Ned central, Poole to flank. The first gold cloak rounded the bend. Jory's blade split, helm to skull. Another lunged, Poole hamstrung, Ned's great sword hewed a shoulder clean. But numbers pressed. Gold cloaks overlapped, pushing corpses ahead. Ned's men fell back to the solar threshold. Jory snarled, drove point into a throat, then grunted as a spear punched between mail rings at his flank. He slashed the shaft away, but blood gushed. A second spear found his chest. He staggered, eyes wide. "Back!" Ned roared. He dragged Jory's limp form through the doorway. Slammed the oak door. Dropped beam across. Poole pushed a cabinet heavy across his barrier. Jory slumped to knees, blood pooling. Ned cradled his head. "Old lad." Jory coughed. "Guard. Your girls." Breath fled. Behind, axes thudded into oak. Splinters sprayed. Ned laid Jory gently, rose, face stoned. Poole glanced at him. Fear and sorrow. "Through the servant stair," Ned said. They lifted a latch behind tapestry, revealing narrow chute. Torch sputtered. They descended as the door upstairs shivered once, twice, then burst. A roar of triumph from gold cloaks. Renly dashed across the torch-striped gallery leading to Maegor's holdfast as armor-clad figures collided. His Stormlander knights clashed with gold cloaks. Renly himself cleaved with short spear, blue stag on surcoat soaked dark by blood. Loras Tyrell fought beside him in gilded half-plate, longsword a blur. They reached the covered bridge spanning the dry moat to the holdfast. White-cloaked guards blocked passage. "Stand aside," Renly panted. "We bear the king's order." Sir Meryn Trant's lips twisted. "The queen tends his grace. None enter." Loras raised sword. "Do you deny Lord Renly Baratheon? Blood of the king?" Sir Boros stepped forward. "I deny traitors." He raised shield. Steel clashed. Loras met Boros. Renly lunged at Meryn. Knights behind crashed into Kingsguard. Sir Barristan arrived, pushing through, shouting to cease, but his voice drowned in ring of blades. Renly ducked, thrust, but Meryn's mail deflected. Loras parried Boros, riposte under arm. Armor parted, Boros yelped as blood spurted. Sir Barristan grabbed Renly's arm. "Folly," he hissed. "The king lives still. This blood is sin." Renly shook free. "Not my sin, sir. Hers." He pointed spear toward Inner Barbican where Cersei might stand. But horns blared behind. The city watch advancing. Loras tugged Renly. "Too many," he warned. Reluctance warred, then Renly signaled retreat. Stormland knights withdrew, Barristan's pleas echoing after. Arya slipped through servants' corridors, boots of Warhammer men echoing behind. She reached Sansa's door. Locked. Died. She knocked thrice, whispered. No answer. She picked a pin from sleeve, jimmied the latch. The door creaked open on empty room. Dresses strewn. Chest toppled. Panic fluttered. Down the corridor, a column of crimson approached. Red cloth sleeves, Lannister guards. Arya ducked into a linen alcove. The men halted before Sansa's door. Their captain peered inside, cursed, gestured. They turned down opposite hall, perhaps to search further. Arya slipped out, raced to Queen's ballroom, where once she watched knights dance. She found Sansa there, flanked by Septa Mordane, both tear-stained. 2 gold cloaks stood guard. "Arya!" Sansa cried. The guards startled. Septa Mordane seized Arya's wrist. "Where have you been?" Arya jerked free. "Father needs us at the stables." One guard chuckled. "The hands head'll need a basket soon enough." Arya's fist tightened on Needle's hidden hilt. She scanned for exits. High windows, servant door behind dais. She pointed. "What's that?" Guards glanced. She yanked Sansa, darted. Septa shrieked. Guards lunged, but skirts tangled them. Arya and Sansa slid through servant door, tumbled down narrow stair into wine cellars. Sansa sobbed. Arya tugged. "Quiet," she hissed. "We hide till father comes." They wove labyrinth of barrels, found dark niche. Arya pressed Sansa against cask, finger at lips. Above, chorus of bells pealed. Not the alarm, they pealed a royal death. Sansa's cry choked. "He's dead." Arya closed her eyes. Robert Baratheon, slain by boar or by Queen's whisper. Bells told truth either way. Night had devoured day. Cersei stood in the throne room's gallery, high above the Iron Throne. Below, gold cloaks formed honor guard lumen by candelabra dots. Joffrey entered wearing black doublet trimmed in crimson, hair gleaming under crown too large. Jaime escorted him, white cloak spattered from earlier melee, pride bright in his grin. Cersei descended to dais, kissed her son's brow. "The realm is yours, your grace." Her voice carried. "Take your seat." Joffrey climbed iron steps, cloak sweeping. He sat spitefully tall, hand resting on a jagged armrest. Candlelight cast thorns of shadow across his features. Gold cloaks cheered. Serianos Slint approached, kneeling. "Your grace, by command of your mother the Queen Regent, we have secured the castle. The traitor Eddard Stark flees like the craven he is." Cersei's lips twitched. "Find him. Bring him." Slint bowed. Jaime stepped close. "Now we ride ice to its lair." "In due course," Cersei murmured. She lifted chin, addressing assembled captains. At dawn, read proclamations in every square. King Robert dead of hunting wound. Joffrey Baratheon ascends with blessing of gods and council. Traitors who deny will feel the lion's teeth. A burst of applause rolled through the hall. Raw, uncertain. Yet beneath it, Cersei heard faint echo of new boots on marble. A courier approached, bearing scroll sealed with black wax. He bowed low. "From Grand Maester Pycelle, your grace." She broke seal, scanned script. Her breath caught. "What news?" Jaime asked. "Pycelle reports the king yet breathes, shallow but alive." She crushed parchment. "He clings stubbornly." Jaime shrugged. "Then I will finish what Bor began." Cersei seized his wrist. "No. Let nature play its note. We remain innocent." He smiled wryly. "We remain lions. The realm knows what that means." She squeezed harder, nails denting steel. "No blood on our paws tonight." His gasp will still by morning. Her eyes shone, a hunter's patience. "Dawn crowns my son uncontested." Deep under the keep, Ned moved through crypt dark tunnels with Poole and a clutch of surviving Northmen. Torches smoked. The scent of damp limestone filled lungs. Ned's thigh burned from a spear graze, but he pressed forward. "We near the dry well," Poole whispered. "Stair beyond leads to Godswood." Ned halted. "Wait." He listened, wind whistling through unseen chink. Drip of water. He felt a tug, a thread of suspicion. "Poole, how knew you of this passage?" Poole frowned. "Old blueprint," Maester Luwin read to me. Ned nodded, yet unease lingered like perfume in crypt. He motioned on. They ascended narrow steps spiraling within the well's stone flue. Midway, light shimmered above, moonlight on leaf canopy. Relief brushed Ned's chest. At top, a rusted grate gave onto Godswood floor. Poole levered with sword point, iron squealed. But then boots crashed behind. Arrows hissed. A Stark man cried out, toppled down steps. Gold cloaks flooded from side shaft. A trap. Ned's men interposed. Blades flashed in torch snare gleam. Poole hauled grate free. "Go, my lord." Ned pushed through onto mossy ground, yanked a wounded retainer behind. Two more crawled. Below, clangor rose. Ned turned, helped Poole jam grate back, but spearheads pried upward. "Run," Ned told remaining men. To the Godswood gate. They limped toward moonlit arch between weirwood roots. The sanctuary glimmered argent, pale weirwood trunk, leaves stirring. Ned knelt, pressed hand to the face carved in sap-bleeding sorrow. "Guide me," he breathed. Hoofbeats thundered. He rose, beyond hedgerow. Gold cloaks galloped across lawn, sergeants leveling crossbows. Poole shoved Ned behind trunk just as bolts thudded into its bone-white surface. Poole stumbled, bolt in chest. Ned caught him. "Hold, Vayan." Poole gasped. "For Winterfell." Eyes glazed. Ned lowered him gently, anger molten inside. He hefted ice, stepped from cover. Crossbowmen recranked, but he advanced relentless. One loosed prematurely. Bolt scraped his pauldron. He closed. Greatsword whistled. Severed bow arm, cleaved helm. Another tried to flee. Ned cut hamstring, turned, parried sword blow from sergeant. They traded strokes among whispering leaves. The sergeant skilled, but Ned's fury fueled precision. Valyrian edge split mail, split heart. 9 gold cloaks lay bleeding when bells tolled again. Grand reverberant. Prime dawn. Gray light fanned across canopy. Ned staggered, breath ragged. Ice-etched rune etched fuller, dripped crimson onto sacred soil. From the gate, harsh voice. Yield, stark. Janos Slint stepped through flanked by 10, crossbows aimed. Littlefinger walked beside, elegant as sunrise, silk, unstained. Ned lifted sword. "Petyr," he said, voice hoarse. Littlefinger sighed. "I did warn you. You were a sweet fool to trust me." Slint barked. "Kneel or die." Ned's shoulders slumped. He glanced at Poole's body, at the weirwood bleeding red sap like tears. North fallen, south consumed, children scattered. Honor could not parry a city of cheats. He planted ice into earth point first. Knees bend. Crossbow strings relaxed. Littlefinger approached, pitying smile. "I held the city for you," Ned murmured. "And now I hold it for myself," Littlefinger whispered back. He guided Slint's manacles onto Ned's wrists. "Chaos is a ladder, old friend. But ladders go only up when one releases burdens." He tapped a direwolf ring. "Farewell." They dragged Ned away, through rustling leaves, as dawn leaked gold into a sky already stained crimson. Hours later, in the cellars beneath the royal kitchens, Arya huddled with Sansa among empty casks. Footsteps echoed above. Shouts of warriors. Clash of iron gates. Sansa shook, whispering prayers. Arya clutched needle, thinking of father. Of Winterfell snows. Of Jon Snow's smile. Through cellar grate, she saw a thin blade of sunlight warming dusty stone. Somewhere above, a herald proclaimed, "King Joffrey Baratheon, first of his name, protector of the realm." Sansa sobbed. Arya held her. Both sisters felt the weight of crowns and the price of thrones fall upon their small, fragile world. In the great sept of Baelor, Robert Baratheon finally breathed his last as choir voices soared. Pycelle pressed coins upon his eyes. The queen wept one tear, then turned away, crown-bed with victory. Bells commenced anew, mourning bells. But the realm sensed not sorrow. It sensed shifting ground beneath foundations. Beyond the walls, Tywin Lannister rode a column head as dawn mist burned off the fields. Ahead, King's Landing's towers gleamed. He measured distance, calculated supply, weighed surety. Jaime's raven had flown in midnight. City secured, boy crowned, hand captured. Tywin allowed himself inch of smile. The game begun. A red lion pacing a field of stones, and winter wolves hemmed in by iron thorns. Yet game boards turn, pawns bite, queens overreach. Tywin raised gauntleted fist. Host halted. In still air, bells wailed their dirge. One king dead, another crowned. He inhaled crisp morning. War smelled of mountain pines and furnace smoke. War smelled like home. He spurred forward. Deep beneath Dragonstone's soot-black ramparts, Stannis Baratheon read Ned Stark's raven by candle stub. His jaw clenched, mouth a hard line. "Prepare the fleet," he told Maester Cresson. "We sail on the night tide." Cresson bowed. "And Lord Stark?" Stannis stared northward, through walls, through leagues of storm-lashed sea. "7 help him, for no one else shall." Fingers drummed on table. "But we will avenge." Lightning forked beyond narrow window, thunder following close. The tide roared. And in the farthest reach of the world, where grass seas rolled under a baking sun, a silver-haired girl felt her child quicken within her womb, while 3 sleeping dragons dreamed of fire. The bells of Westeros carried only faint upon the wind, like distant surf. Yet one day they would ring louder than any heart could bear. Night ceded fully to day, but in King's Landing the sun rose red as the Lion Gate banners, and its warmth could not melt the frost that settled upon countless souls. The war had begun, not with a king's battle cry, but with soft words, clinking coins, and the sigh of a great heart, breathing its last.